All right. All right. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom, good people. Um, this is me, Joshua, coming to present to you again, starting a series of the Who Are We series, and this is part 1. So, coming again for you today with another lesson on the Shabbat. Praises be to the Most High, and we give Him all the thanks and the praise. So, I wanted to start the series, the Who Are We series. It's kind of been on my heart. I always say that, but it's really been pressing on my heart for us as so-called Negro men or black men and black men and black women to understand who we really are in the Bible. Now, I took some time to do this lesson because, you know, the way that we think in this in our culture, it's hard for us to believe anything good about ourselves. Believe anything special about ourselves. It's hard to believe that the Most High finds favor on us. I mean, we hear a lot of hooping and hollering in the churches and stuff like that, but most of us don't really believe it. You don't really believe it, but I'm not gonna get into that too much. But anywho, so I wanted to start this series. This is part 1 of Who Are We, and I think before we can adequately get into who we are, we first have to we have to break down who we are not. So there has to be, before we can move on to our reconstruction, we have to deconstruct some lies. There were some things purposely done to us to break us and to strip us down of our identity, our culture, how we move as men, how we move as women. There were some things that was purposely done to us. So we have to deconstruct those things in order for us to be able to um, adequately build or reconstruct who we actually are. If you're trying to build a new house, a lot of times, and if there's an old um, building sitting on the land that you're trying to build on, you have to clear it out. You have to tear it down in order for you to be able to build something new and better. So, with that being said, today we're going to talk about the Willie Lynch letter, the infamous Willie Lynch letter. Now, there's some talk out there that maybe the Willie Lynch letter isn't real, isn't true. Maybe it was something made up. And for the purpose of teaching, I'm not going to even try to determine whether it's a fictional document or a true document. But I know the effects in the Willie Lynch letter are very, very, very real. They're very real. You only need to look inside our community to see the real, true effects of the Willie Lynch letter. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the Willie Lynch letter and the purpose of the letter, or the speech that Willie Lynch gave on the banks of gave in Virginia. And let's see what he's talking about. Let's get into it real quick. Share the old infamous screen here. Okay. As you can see, I already got it pulled up. And it says, Willie Lynch, the making of a slave. This speech was said to have been delivered by Willie Lynch on the banks of the James River in the colony of Virginia in 1712. Lynch was a British slave owner in the West Indies. It is alleged that he was invited to the colony of Virginia to teach his methods to slave owners. The term lynching is derived from his last name. However, many people dispute this source of the story due to the language used and other factors. Man, that's what I just said earlier. So let's just get into this letter and break it down. Greetings. What Willie Lynch is supposedly saying. Greetings. I greet you here on the bank of the James River in the year of our Lord 1712. First, I shall thank you, the gentlemen of the colony of Virginia, for bringing me here. I am here to help you solve some of your problems with slaves. Your invitation reached me on my modest plantation in the West Indies, where I have experimented with some of the newest and still the oldest methods of controlling slaves. Ancient Rome would envy us if my program is implemented. Wow. That's just to elaborate on this ancient Rome. That's a very specific empire to reference, because it's known that the Romans are the ones that basically did the final destruction of the Jerusalem temple and finally conquered Judea. You have to go back and reference the Roman Jewish War, and many Hebrews were taken into slavery during that time. And then the Pope actually issued edicts that really were the beginning point of the Portuguese and Spanish Inquisition and the transatlantic slave trade. So I just want to point that out. It says, as our boat sailed south of the James River, named for our illustrious king, whose version of the Bible we cherish, I saw enough to know that your problem is not unique. While Rome used cords of wood as crosses for standing human bodies along its highways in great numbers, you are here using the tree and the rope on occasions. I caught the whiff of a dead slave hanging from a tree a couple of miles back. You're not only losing valuable stock by hangings, you are having uprisings. Slaves are running away. Your crops are sometimes left in the field too long for maximum profit. You suffer occasional fires. Your animals are killed. Gentlemen, you know what your problems are. I don't need to elaborate. I am not here to enumerate your problems. I am here to introduce you to a method of solving them. In my bag here, I have a foolproof method for controlling your black slaves. I guarantee every one of you that if installed correctly, it will control the slaves for at least 300 years. Now, this is back in 1715 that he's giving his speech, and he's saying it was going to control the slaves for at least 300 years. That's a long time. That's a lot of generations. My method is simple. Any member of your family or your overseer can use it. I have outlined a number of differences among the slaves, and I will take these differences and make them bigger. I will use fear, distrust, and envy for the control purposes. These methods have worked on my modest plantation in the West Indies, and it will work throughout the South. Take this simple little list of differences and think about them. On top of my list is age, but it's only there because it starts with an A. The second is color or shade. There's intelligence, size, sex, sizes of plantation, status on plantations, attitudes of owners, whether the slaves live in the valley, on a hill, east, west, north, south, have fine hair, coarse hair, or is tall or short. Now that you have a list of differences, I shall give you an outline of action. But before that, I will assure you that the distrust is stronger than trust and envy, stronger than adulation, respect, or admiration. Wow. That's true, though. I mean, he's lying. The black slaves, after receiving this indoctrination, shall carry on and will become self-refueling and self-generating for hundreds of years, maybe thousands. Don't forget, you must pitch the old black male versus the young black male, and the young black male against the old black male. So he's saying they got to go both ways. You just can't have one hating the other. You got to have both hate each other. You must use the dark-skinned slaves versus the light-skinned slaves, and the light-skinned slaves versus the dark-skinned slaves. You must use the female versus the male, and the male versus the female. You must also have your white servants and overseers distrust all blacks, but it is necessary that your slaves trust and depend on us. They must love, respect, and trust us only. Gentlemen, these kits are your keys to control. Use them. Have your wives and children use them. Never miss an opportunity. If used intensely for a year, the slaves themselves will remain perpetually distrustful. Thank you, gentlemen. So I'm gonna stop right there, and I'm gonna keep going, but let me stop right there. Let me go over what I just read. Okay, basically, what he's talking about is he's talking about starting a generational war between the young black male and the older black male. He's talking about colorism, push the dark-skinned slave against the light-skinned slave. Then he's talking about a gender war between the male and the female. So basically, the letter is talking about that there needs to be some distrust. There needs to be distrust zone. The slaves must completely distrust one another. And he basically said, leave no stone unturned. If they don't trust one another, I'm thinking the purpose for him trying to say this was if they don't trust each other, they can never come together. But also he's saying there must be a dependency on us. So basically what he's saying is you use this trust to start hatred with, like I said, colorism, generational war, and a gender war. And you break their trust and have them dependent completely upon the slave masters. So basically, you're effectively putting them back in a childlike mindset. You know, children have to be dependent upon their parents. Adults are not supposed to be. So you put them in a dependency state that they have to depend on you and not on each other, which was, in my opinion, you know, it's sad to say this, but that's a brilliant strategy of how to sow distrust. So let's keep going. Let's keep going. Well, wait a minute. Let me touch on something else. So this light skinned slave versus dark skinned slaves, we know that's colorism, but it's also talking about what is most socially acceptable. The light skinned slaves, you know, even amongst our people now, you know, there's this thing that people be talking about light skinned cats and light skinned dudes, and they're supposed to be, your skin complexion is supposed to change the content of your character, so to speak. But it's a false beauty standard, basically. So you having people hate each other because of a physical appearance, something neither one of them can control. But also, let me touch on this black male versus the old male, because we know biblically the Bible talks about the older must teach the younger. It talks about submitting to the authority of the elders. And the way things how do I say this? One of the ways the generational wealth is built is just through family, but I'm not just talking about generational wealth right now. I'm talking about teaching culture, teaching of things of self-pride, or thing of what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. It's supposed to come from the elders down to the younger. But if you got them warring with each other, there's no teaching happening. So you're stripping them of culture. You're redefining the beauty standards. And then let's go to the male and female aspect. A woman is supposed to be able to be dependent upon a man. And a man is supposed to be able to depend on his woman. But if you got them fighting with each other, you can't come together and build families. Period. I just wanted to touch on that real quick. Let's keep going. Let's make a slave. It was the interest and business of slaveholders to study human nature. I don't know if I want to read this. Let me keep going. So let me go. Let me go to Cardinal Principles for making a Negro. For the fear that our future generations may not understand the principles of breaking both the beasts together, the N word, which I guess they were saying the nigger and the horse, we should understand the short range planning economics result in periodic economic chaos, so that to avoid turmoil in the economy, it requires us to have breadth and depth in long range comprehensive planning, articulating both skill sharp perceptions. We lay down the following principle for long range comprehensive economic planning. Both horse and the N word is not good to the economy in the wild or natural state. Both must be broken and tied together for orderly production. Wow. The natural state of a woman is to be dependent upon a man. The natural state of the man is to be leading the family. The natural state of the elder man is to teach the younger man. The natural state of the younger man is to be in a student position of the older man, be an apprentice to the older man. So he's basically saying that them being in their natural state and a woman being dependent upon a man being in the head of his home, the younger older man teaching the younger man, that's not good for the economy. So they gotta break that. So this is all about economics. Both must be broken and tied together for orderly production. For orderly future, special and particular attention must be paid to the female and the youngest offspring. For orderly future, special and particular attention must be paid to the female and the youngest offspring. Now, the female, because she's going to be the first person to be able to imprint on the child, and the youngest offspring is because they are the most impressionable. They're the most vulnerable. Both must be crossbred to produce a variety and division of labor. Both must be taught to respond to a peculiar new language. So stripping them of their known language. Psychologically and physically, instruction of containment must be created for both. So not only do I got to put a physical barrier around you, I got to put a mental barrier in your mind. So even when you're away from me, you're thinking like a prisoner. You don't know how to function without me. We hold the 6 cardinal principles as true to be self-evident based upon the following the discourse concerning the economics of breaking and tying the horse and the N word together. All inclusion of the 6 principles laid down about. Okay. Neither principle alone will suffice for good economics. All principles must be employed for orderly good of the nation. Accordingly, both a wild horse and a wild or natural Negro is dangerous even if captured, for they will have the tendency to seek their customary freedom, and in doing so might kill you in your sleep. You cannot rest. Wow. They sleep while you are awake and are awake while you are asleep. They are dangerous near the family house, and it requires too much labor to watch them away from the house. Above all, you cannot get them to work in this natural state. Hence, both the horse and the N word must be broken. That is, breaking them from one form of mental life to another. Basically, what I just touched on. They're trying to break you in the mind. Keep the body, take the mind. Yep, that goes on to say that. In other words, break the will to resist. Now, the breaking process is the same for both the horse and the N word, only slightly variations in degrees. But as we said before, there is an art in long-range economic planning. You must keep your eye and thoughts on the female and the offspring of the horse and the N-word. A brief discourse in offspring's development will shed light to the key and sound economic principles. Pay little attention to the generation of the original breaking, but concentrate on the future generation, because the future generation will already be broken. They'll come out already, quote unquote, domesticated, for lack of a better word. They'll come out already having the mindset that the slave owner needed them to have, depending upon the slave master. Therefore, if you break the female mother, she will break the offspring. So it's saying you get the woman, she gonna hit the offspring for you. In its early years of development, and when the offspring is old enough to work, she will deliver it up to you. For her normal female protective tendencies would have been broken. I'm sorry, would have been lost in the original breaking process. So they're saying they're going to take her naturally protective, nurturing nature of the woman. She's not going to have them anymore. So she's going to be more willing to offer her children up to the master. Okay. For example, take the case of the wild-stored horse, a female horse and an already infant horse, and compare the breaking process with two captured N-word males in the natural state, a pregnant N-word woman with her infant offspring. Take the stud horse, break him for limited containment. Completely break the female horse until she becomes very gentle, whereas you or anybody can ride her in her comfort. Wow. Breed the mare and the stud until you have the desired offspring. Then you can turn the stud to freedom until you need him again. Train the female horse whereby she will eat out of your hand, and she will in turn train the infant horse to eat out of your hand also. I just can't. I'm sorry, but I can't when I'm reading this. It's kind of difficult because there's emotions that's coming, but I'm fine. But I just can't disconnect the parallels that I see when they talking about breaking the female and she will offer the offspring up. I can't disassociate the parallels between what they're talking about here and how our women in the African American society are. What am I trying to say? Lord Jesus. I'm sorry, I got a little flustered. But I can't how they would just so readily, use the children for their own gain, particularly with the child support system and then the welfare. And the children, especially the females, the daughters, they grow up and they see this, and it puts them in a dependent state upon the government. Like, I can't help but draw those parallels when I'm reading this. That's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing the mother showing her daughter how to be dependent on the government, as he's saying about here, the pregnant woman showing the infant or offering the infant up to the master. That's what I see. I'm so sorry. And it says that basically any master would be able to ride her because she's broken. And I just oh my God, I'm gonna keep going because I'm flustered with my words right now. I'm so sorry. This is crazy. When it comes to breaking the uncivilized N-word, use the same process, but vary the degree and step up the measures. So to do a complete reversal of the mind, take the meanest and most restless N-word, strip him of his clothes in front of the remaining male N-words, the female, and the N-word infant, tar and feather him, tie each leg to a different horse, faced it in opposite directions. Oh my God. Set him afire, beat both the horses to pull him apart in front of the remaining N-word. So he's basically what he's saying is take the alpha male, beat the crap out of him, deprive him of his manhood. This alpha male is the wild when he's a buck, when he's the one that you can't bring up under control. He's the one that's more than likely going to resist and can kill you. So he's saying, find the biggest one and make an example out of him. Tar and feathering him, which tar is bad enough. Put feathers on him, then light him a fire. Then basically tie his limbs to 4 separate horses and make the horses run so they tear him apart. Do this all in front of the remaining N-words as an example. The next step is to take a bullwhip and beat the remaining N-word male to the point of death in front of the female. So now we're going after the beta male. Now we're going after the beta male. So we're going to beat the strong man, and then we're going to beat the man who ain't strong to near death. We don't kill him, but we're going to beat him near death. So in front of the female and the infant. Don't kill him, but they just said it. Don't kill him, but put the fear of God in him, for he can be useful for future breeding. That's the only thing they want him for, is to breed. It's a bit tough to read, but I'm gonna keep going. Ain't gonna be no punk about it. This is the breaking process of the African woman. So, all these black women always talking about they're not African. You're the only one that don't see yourself as African. Everybody else know that you're African. Okay. And you just a broken version of the African woman. You see this? This is the breaking process of the African woman. You just are a broken version of the African woman. That's it. Take the female and run a series of tests on her to see if she will submit to your desires willingly. Test her in every way, because she is the most important factor for good economics. Y'all hear that, black women? Y'all hear that? Y'all always complaining about we don't have nothing in our community and men ain't building. But for white supremacy, you are the most important factor. If she shows any signs of resistance and submitting completely to your will, do not hesitate to use the bullwhip on her to extract the last bit of beat out of her. So he's basically saying, take the fight out of her. Take care not to kill her, for in doing so, you spoil good economics. So that's why y'all protect it. Women, that's why y'all protect it. Because y'all fueling an economic system. Hold on for a second. Okay. When in complete submission, she will train her offspring in the early years to submit to labor when they become of age. Understanding is the best. Therefore, we shall go deeper into this area of subject matter concerning what we produced here in breaking the process of the female N-word. We have reversed the relationship in her natural uncivilized state. So let me stop. So they calling the African woman naturally uncivilized. We have reversed the relationship in her naturally uncivilized state. She would have a strong dependency on the uncivilized N-word. So right here is saying that you're as a African woman, you're supposed to be strongly dependent upon your male counterpart. But white supremacy was, in order to break you into being productive for economics, they had to break that. I mean, they had to strip you of that. I'm sorry, I lost my place. And she would have a limited protective tendency toward her independent male offspring, and would raise male offsprings to be dependent like her. That's why these guys are soft. That's why they can't make a decision without their mom. You know, they mama's boys. I'm sorry, let me stop because I keep wanting to add commentary. She would have a strong dependency on the uncivilized natural. I read that part. Okay, nature have provided this for this type of balance. We reverse nature by burning and pulling a civilized inward apart and bull whipping the other to the point of death, all in her presence. By Jesus. By her being left alone, unprotected, with the male image destroyed, the ordeal caused her to move from her psychological dependent state to a frozen independent state. That frozen mean you ain't moving one way or the other, but you got an independent mindset. You saying I don't need a man. Remember that? I don't need a man. Okay. In this frozen psychological state of independence, she will raise her male and female offspring in the reverse roles. For fear of the young male's life, she will psychologically train him to be mentally weak and dependent, but physically strong. So you're not even a thinking man. You're not even trying to be bold. You're not even trying to overthrow nothing. You're not even trying to build. Because she has become psychologically independent, she will train her female offspring to be psychologically independent. What have you got? You've got the N-word woman out front and the N-word man behind and scared. This is a perfect situation of sound sleep and economics. So you're going to get rich. Now notice the black man and the black woman are destroyed, but you're going to be rich. This is what they're saying. Before the breaking process, we had to be alert on guard at all times. Now we can sleep soundly. For out of frozen fear, his woman stand guards for us. So the woman is doing the help of the man of white supremacy. He cannot get past her early slave molding process. He is a good tool, now ready to be tied to the horse at a tender age. By the time an N-word boy reaches the age of 16, he is soundly broken in and ready for a long life of sound and efficient work and the reproduction of a unit of good labor force. So basically, they're saying is all you good is for labor and reproduction. Hold on for a second. Sorry about that. Got a call. The bride of KDO. Anywho. So, where was I? Oh yeah, basically they just breaking the man. He just laboring and producing offspring. Continually the breaking of the uncivilized savage N-word by throwing the N-word female savage into a frozen psychological state of independence. By killing the protective male image and by creating a submissive, dependent mind of the N-word male slave, we have created an orbiting cycle that turns on this axis forever, unless a phenomenon occurs and reshifts the position of the male and female slaves. Jesus. This ain't funny, man. This is not funny. Jeez. We show what we mean by example. Take the case of two economic. Oh boy. I'm sorry, I'm not supposed to be laughing. Take the case of two economic slave units and examine them closely. The Negro marriage unit. We breed two inward males and two inward females. Then we take the inward male away from them and keep them moving and working. So basically saying they're only using the males to breed with the females. Say one inward female bears an inward female and the other bears an inward male. Both inward females being without influence of male inward image, frozen with the independent psychology will raise their offspring in reverse roles. So basically saying the system is at play now. The one with the female offspring will teach her to be like herself, independent and negotiable. We negotiate with her, through her, by her, and negotiates her at will. The one with the inward offspring, she being frozen subconsciously, fear for his life, will raise him to be mentally dependent and weak, but physically strong. In other words, body over mind. Now, in a few years, when these offsprings become fertile and early reproduction, we will mate and breed them and continue the cycle. That is good, sound, long range, comprehensive planning. Okay, let me go down here to control language because I want to skip past this part. Okay, crossbreeding complete. For further, no, I might want to read crossbreeding. Let me see. Oh, okay. Let's read this. Earlier, we talked about the non-economic good of the horse and the inward in the wild and natural state. We talked out of principle of breaking and tying them together for orderly production. Furthermore, we talked about paying particular attention to the female savage and her offspring. I'm sorry. I keep laughing. I keep laughing because of it's not funny because so many of our people suffered because another particular people or white people had a certain mind. They thought of us a certain way, and I know this is real. I know they actually did this. Like the Willie Lynch letter is the authenticity is disputed. I understand that, but I know this mindset was real. This is very real. This is not a fictional thing, and I keep chuckling because of how dehuman, like how they dehumanized us as and just talking about us being savages and things and that. And you really have to just think so far less of a person to be able to. You have to think that this is not human, and this is that I'm hearing this like this. I'm like, and it's causing me to chuckle because white people are descended from black people, and I think that's the reason why I'm kind of chuckling. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep going. Okay, where was I? We talked about we created an orbiting cycle that turns on its axis forever, unleashing a phenomenon occurred and reshift positions of the male and female savages. Our experts warned us about the possibility of this phenomenon occurring, for they say that the mind has a strong drive to correct and recorrect itself over the period of time if I can touch some substantial original historical base, and they advise us that the best way to deal with the phenomenon is to shave off the brute's mental history and create a multiplicity of phenomena of illusion so that each illusion will twirl in its own orbit, something similar to a floating balls in a vacuum. This creation of multiplicity of phenomena of illusions entails the principles of the crossbreeding the inward and the horse, as we stated above, the purpose which is to create a diversified division of labor, thereby creating different levels of labor and different values of illusion at each connecting level of labor. The results of which this is severance of the points of ordering beginning with each sphere illusion. Since we feel that The subject matter may get more complicated as we proceed in laying down our economic plan concerning the purpose, reason, and effect of crossbreeding horses and anywhere. We shall lay down the following definition terms for future generations. Orbiting cycles means a thing turning in a given path. Axis means upon which or around a body turns. Phenomenon means something beyond ordinary conception and inspires awe and wonder. Multiplicity means a great number, means a globe. Crossbreeding a horse means taking a horse and breeding it with an ass, and you get a dumb, backward ass, long-headed mule that is not reproductive or productive by itself. Crossbreeding inwards means taking so many drops of good white blood and putting them into as many inward women as possible. Varying the drops by various tones that you want and then letting them breed with each other until another circle of color appears as you decide. God dang. Oh my God. Oh my God. I don't know if I can take. I'm pushing through it. This is crazy. Hmm. Okay. All right. What this means is this: put the N words and the horse in a breeding pot, mix some asses and some good white blood, and what do you get? You get a multiplicity of colors of ass backwards, unusual N words running tied to a backwards ass long headed mule, and one productive of itself, the other sterile. The one constant, the other dying. We keep the N-word constant, for we will replace the mules for another tool. Both male and N-word, both mule and N-word tied to each other, neither knowing where the other came from, and neither productive for itself, nor without each other. So basically, what they're talking about is kind of basically he's talking about white men raping black women to have different varieties and different variations of color. And being able to strip the Negro of their language and their history. They don't know where they came from. They're just existing. But unlike the mule, the Negro can actually reproduce. That's basically what I'm gathering from this. Um, Controlled language. Crossbreeding complete for further severance from the original beginning. We must completely annihilate the mother tongue of both the new N-word and the new mule, and institute a new language that involves the new life's work of both. You know, language is a peculiar institution. It leads to the heart of a people. It's very important. A lot of people do not know that. Your language is very, very defining. You even name your children based off your language. The more a foreigner knows about the language of another country, the more he's able to move through all levels of that society. That's pretty good. That's very important. Therefore, if the foreigner is an enemy of the country, to the extent that he knows the body of the language, to that extent is the country vulnerable to attack or invasion of a foreign culture. For example, if you take a slave, if you teach him all about your language, he will know all your secrets. And he is then no more a slave, for you can't fool him any longer. And being a fool is one of the more basic ingredients of incidents to maintenance. I'm sorry. Being a fool is one of the basic ingredients of incidents to maintenance of the slave system. So basically, in order to the slavery system to keep going, black folks had to stay ignorant. And by black folks staying ignorant, the system of slavery kind of it's self-repaired itself. You know, for example, if you told a slave that he must perform in getting out our crops and he knows the language well, he would know that our crops didn't mean our crops. And the slavery system would break down, for he would relate on the basis of what our crops really means. So you have to be careful in setting up the new language for the slaves would soon be in your house, talking to you as man to man. And that is death to our economic system. All this is about money. In addition, the definitions of words and terms is also, I'm sorry, are only a minute part of the process. Values are created and transported by communication through the body of the language. I'll say that one more time. Values are created and transported by communication through the body of the language. A total society has many interconnected value systems. All the values in the society that I'm sorry, all the values in the society have bridges of language to connect them for orderly working in the society. But for these language bridges, these many value systems would sharply clash and cause internal strife or civil war. The degree of conflict being determined by the multitude of the issues are related, opposing strength, or whatever form. For example, if you put a slave in a hog pen and train him to live there and incorporate in him to value it as a way of life completely, the biggest problem you would have out of him is that he would worry you about provisions to keep the hog pen clean. Wow. Wow. Or the same hog pen and make a slip and incorporate something in his language whereby he comes to value a house more than he does his hog pen. You got a problem. He will soon be in your house. Mm. Some additional notes. Says Henty Berry, speaking in the Virginia House of Delegates in 1832, described the situation as it existed in many parts of the South at this time. We have, as far as possible, closed every avenue by which light may enter the slave's mind. If we could extinguish the capacity to see light, our work would be complete. They would be on a level with beasts of the field, and we should be safe. I am not certain that we would not do it if we find out the process that okay, I am not certain that we would not do it if we would find out the process that on the plea of necessity. From Brown America, the story of New Race by Edwin R. Ebery. Mm. Oh boy. It's the Willie Lynch letter, y'all. That's the Willie Lynch letter. So I wanted to go through that letter. As you guys can see, as I was going through the Willie Lynch letter, I kept, making commentary about the letter. And the whole purpose, I'm gonna say the whole purpose, but it goes into great detail about the process of breaking a human being, keeping their mind but keeping their body but destroying their mind, making the mind a tool to where you can use. So when we go back and forth and we ask ourselves, who are we? This, what we see in our society today, is what we were made into being. All right. This was a deliberate. All the people from the ADOS, American Descendants of Slaves, we were handed down a slavery mind that was broken by the master. It was never in their intentions on keeping us, allowing us to be free, but every intention on keeping us in a perpetual slavery. They never wanted us to have knowledge and learn who we were, learn our natural language, They never even wanted our families to be intact. I did a video earlier this week when I talked about the Black family power base and how the government purposely broke that power base because of fear of a Black Messiah. And that kind of coincides with the Willie Lynch letter, because the Willie Lynch letter preceded COINTELPRO, but that's exactly what it perpetuates. That's exactly what it does. Okay, now, so that's who we were bred to be. We were bred to be we were bred to be mindless, ignorant fools for the enrichment of another people. Our women were raped just to add a little spice and variety in the situation, in order to be able to cause a sense of classism within the Negro race, so-called Negro race itself. That's when we were brought to these shores in Africa. From Africa. That's who we were bred to be. And it was, I read a part that said the breaking of the African woman. All you African American women out there, understand you are African. You just are generations removed from the breaking process. But there's another thing I want to go over, and it's biblical. So let's go over this when we talk about who we are. Now, I don't know if many of you guys have heard. I know everybody heard about, but I don't know if anybody, you guys, have had anyone discuss Deuteronomy 28 with you guys. But if you are of African American descent, this is very, 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 very important. Very, very, very important. So let me read Deuteronomy 28 and 15, because I'm not going to read the whole Deuteronomy. But let's read Deuteronomy 28 and 15. Let me pull up my handy dandy Bible here. Okay. Now, the Most High in clarity, the Most High, just so I can clear something up, the Most High had just got finished telling the children of Yasharel, if you could see it, blessings and obedience, right? So I think I will read that. Okay. And it shall come to pass, if you shall hearken diligently unto the voice of Yahweh Elokai, to guard and to do all his commandments, which I command you this day, that Yahweh Elokai will set you on high above all the nations of earth. And the blessing shall come on you and overtake you, and if you shall hearken unto the voice of Yahweh Elokai, blessed shall you be in the city, blessed shall you be in the field. Blessed shall be the fruit of your body, and the fruit of your ground, and the fruit of your cattle, and the increase of your kind, and the flocks of your sheep. Blessed shall be the basket and your store. Blessed shall you be when you come in, blessed shall you be when you go out. Yahuwah shall cause your enemies that rise up against you to be smitten before your face. They shall come out against you one way and flee before you 7 ways. Yahuwah shall command the blessings upon you in the storehouses and in all that you set your mind unto, and he shall bless you in the land which Yahuwah El-Hakai gives you. Yahuwah shall establish you a holy people unto himself, as he has sworn unto you, if you shall guard the commandments of Yahuwah El-Hakai and walk in his ways. And all the people of the earth shall see that you are called by the name of Yahuwah, and they shall be afraid of you. And you shall make plenteous in goods the fruit of your body, the fruit of your cattle, and the fruit of your ground, in the land which Yahuwah swore unto your fathers to give you. Yahuwah shall open unto you his good treasure, the heavens, to give you rain unto your lands in his season, and shall bless all the work of your hands, and you shall lend unto many nations, and you shall not borrow. And Yahuwah shall make you the head and not the tail, and you shall be above only, and you shall not be beneath. If that you hearken unto commandments of Yahuwah El Hakai, which I command you this day to guard and to do them. Excuse me. So this is Moses. This is the Most High talking to the people of Yasharel, and he's talking about there's a consequence, there's a blessings in keeping his commandments, but there's also consequences into breaking his commandments, right? So let's go on to these curses. It says the curses of disobedience. But it shall come to pass, if you will not hearken unto the voice of Yahuwah El Hakai, to guard, to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command you this day, that all these curses shall come upon you and overtake you. Cursed shall you be in the field. Cursed shall you be in the city, and cursed shall you be in the field. Cursed shall be your basket and your store. Cursed shall be the fruit of your body, and the fruit of your land, and the increase of your kind, and the flocks of your sheep. Cursed shall you be when you come in, and cursed shall you be when you go out. Yahuwah shall send upon you cursings and vexation and rebuke, and all that you set your hand unto for you to do, until you be destroyed, and until you perish quickly because of the wickedness of your doings, whereby you have forsaken me. So forsaken, for the children of Yasharel breaking the covenant of the Most High, these are the things that will happen to him, right? So Yahshua shall make pestilence cleave unto you until you have consumed you from off the land, whether you go to possess it. Yahuwah shall smite you with a consumption and with a fever and with an inflammation and with an extreme burning and with the sword and with blasting and with mildew, and they shall pursue you until you perish, and your heaven that is over your head shall be brass, and the earth that is under your feet shall be iron. Basically being a prisoner. And Yahuwah shall make the rain of your land powder and dust, for the heavens shall come down upon you until you destroy. Yahuwah shall cause you to be smitten before your enemies. You shall go out one way against them and flee 7 ways before them, and shall be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth. I want y'all to keep that in mind. And your carcass shall be meat unto the fowls of the air and unto the beasts of the earth, and no man shall fray them away. So basically, you're going to be killed, and your body is not going to be buried. It's just going to be out there to be eaten by the animals. Yahuwah will smite you with botch of Mitzrayim, and with tumors, and with the scab, and with the itch where you cannot be healed. Yahuwah shall smite you with madness and blindness and astonishment of heart. And I'm sorry, let me keep scrolling down. And you shall grope at noonday as the blindness gropes in darkness, as the blind grope in darkness, and you shall not prosper in your ways, and you shall be only oppressed and spoiled evermore, and no man shall save you. And you shall betroth a woman. What I'm reading right now, right? If you can't make the connection to what I'm reading, why I did the Willie Lynch letter, and what I'm reading right now, reading Deuteronomy 28, I'm reading the curses of Deuteronomy 28. And the curses were supposed to come upon a certain people, the Yasharites, or the Hebrews, or the descendants of Yaakov, for forsaking the Most High. These curses that he's saying, this is going to happen to you if you forsake my way. Now, I just read the Willie Lynch letter and talked about slavery. All right. And I highlighted the Willie Lynch letter because the Willie Lynch letter goes in detail about the breaking of the mind, but there are certain actions that had to happen. There were certain actions that had to be taking place to break the mind. Now I'm talking about the actions that are taking place. And I'm reading the actions. I read them in the Willie Lynch letter, but I'm reading what the Most High is saying about these things. There's a connection. There's a strong connection. It says, you shall betroth a woman. Now, I did a lesson and it talked about betrothing of a woman as a woman being promised to you. And how if another man laid with that woman, it was considered to be breaking wedlock because she was promised to you. The Most High recognized that she belonged to you. Vows are very important to the Most High. You shall be betrothed a woman, and another man shall lie with her. See what I'm talking about? And you shall build a house, and you shall not dwell therein. So you build on a house, but you're not going to own it. You shall plant a vineyard and shall not gather the grapes thereof. Your ox shall be slain before your eyes, and you shall not eat thereof. So even your livestock going to be killed, but you can't eat it. Your ass shall be violently taken from you before your face, and should not be restored unto you. Your sheep shall be given unto your enemies, and you shall have none to rescue them. Your sons and your daughters shall be given unto another people. He's saying right here, your descendants shall be given to another people, another nation. Okay. And your eyes shall look and frail with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in your hand. So your children are going to be stripped and taken away from you. You'll never be able to see them again. And it says, and there shall be no might in your hand. You don't even have the strength to fight them. There's no power that you will be able to possess. The fruit of the land and all your labor shall a nation which you know not eat up. And you shall be only oppressed and crushed always. So that you shall be mad for the sight of your eyes, which you shall see. Yahuwah shall smite you in the knees and in the legs, and with a sore botch that cannot be healed, from the sole of your foot unto the top of your head. Yahuwah shall bring you, your king, which you shall set over you, unto a nation which neither you nor your fathers have known. And they shall serve, and there you shall serve Elohim, wood and stone. So you're going to be taken into a land and you're going to be serving false gods that's not God. And you shall become an astonishment, a proverb, a byword among all the nations where the Yahuwah shall lead you. So you're going to be called all these crazy, nasty names, bywords like nigga, thug, thought, all those type of stuff, right? Winches. Those are bywords. You shall carry much seed unto the field and shall gather but little in, for the locust shall consume it. You shall plant vineyards and dress them, but shall neither drink of the wine nor gather the grapes, for the worms shall eat them. You shall have olive trees throughout all the coast, but you shall not anoint yourself with oil, for your olive shall cast his fruits. You shall beget sons and daughters, but you shall not enjoy them, for they shall go into captivity. So your sons and your daughters are going to be in slavery. All the trees and fruit of your land shall the locust consume. The stranger that is within you shall get, the stranger that is within shall get up above you very high, and you shall come down very low. Don't that sound familiar, especially in the African American community, where everybody in our community get rich off us except us? The Indians, the Palestinians, the, Arabs, the Chinese, the Koreans, all these people are getting rich off of us, but they strangers in this land, but they get rich off us. He shall lend to you, and you shall not lend to him. He shall be the head, and you shall be the tail. Moreover, all these curses shall be upon you and shall pursue you and overtake you till you be destroyed, because you have hearkened not unto the voice of Yahweh Elohai to guard his commandments and his statutes, which he commanded you. And they shall be upon you for a sign and for a wonder, and upon your seed forever, because you serve not Yahweh El Hakai, and with joyfulness and with gladness of heart for the abundance of all things. Therefore shall you serve your enemies, which Yahweh shall send against you, in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and all things, and he shall pluck a yoke of iron upon your neck. Now I know what that looks like. Until he have destroyed you. That's slavery. That's bondage. Yahweh shall bring a nation against you from afar, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flies. A nation whose tongue you shall not understand. Remember, I was just reading the Willie Lynch letter, and it was talking about stripping you of your language. A nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of old, nor show favor to the young. And he shall eat the fruit of your cattle and the fruit of your land until you be destroyed, which also shall not leave you either grain, wine, or oil, increase your kind flocks of you until you have been destroyed. And you shall besiege you. I'm not even scrolling down no more because I'm reading from my Bible. And he shall besiege you in all your gates until your high fence walls come down within you have trusted throughout all your land. He shall besiege you in all your gates throughout the land which Yahweh El Hakai has given you. And you shall eat fruit of your own body, the flesh of your sons and of your daughters, which Yahweh has given you in the siege and in stateness, wherein you enemies shall distress you, so that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eyes shall be evil towards his brother, toward the woman of his bosom, and toward the remnant of his children, which he shall leave. So that he will not give to any of them of the flesh of his children, whom he shall eat, before he has nothing left, for he has nothing left him in the siege and in the straitness, wherein your enemy shall distress you in all the gates. The tender and delicate woman among you, which would not adventure to set her sole of her foot upon the ground of delicateness and tenderness, her eyes shall be evil toward the man of her bosom, and toward her son, and toward her daughter, and toward her young one that comes from between her feet, and toward her children. See, that's why y'all don't care about these babies. That's why y'all go out aborting them. For she shall eat them for she shall eat them for want of all things secretly in the siege and straitness, wherewith your enemy shall distress you in your gates. If you not guard to do all the words of this Torah that are written in this sefer, you may fear the glorious and fearful name Yahweh El Hakai, that Yahweh will make your plagues wonderful, and the plagues of your seed even great plagues, and a long continuance, and sore sickness, and long continuance. Moreover, he will bring upon you all the disease of Mizraim of Egypt, the plagues of Egypt, which you were afraid of, that they shall cleave into you, and every sickness, every plague, which is not written in the sefer or Torah, that Yahweh bring upon you until you be destroyed. And you shall be left through a number wherever you were, as the stars of heaven, a multitude, because you would not obey the voice of Yahweh El Hakai. And it shall come to pass that Yahweh will rejoice over you to do good and to multiply you. So Yahweh will rejoice over you to destroy you and to bring you into naught. And you shall be plucked from the land whether you go to possess. And Yahweh shall scatter you among all people, from one end of the earth unto the other. And there you shall serve other Elohim, which neither you nor your fathers have known, even wood and stone. And among these nations you shall find no ease, neither shall your sole of your foot have rest, but Yahweh shall give these a trembling heart and fallen eyes, and sorrow of mind. And your life shall hang in doubt before you, and you shall fear in day and night. Sound familiar, black men? And you shall have no assurance of your life. And in the morning you shall say, would to Elohim it were evening. And at evening you will say, would to Elohim it was morning. So you're going to be scared day and night. For the fear of your heart wherewith you shall fear, for the sight of your eyes which you shall see. And Yahuwah shall bring you unto Mitzrayim again with ships, by the way which thereof I spoke unto you. You shall see it no more. And there you shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. God dang it, I dropped my phone. Okay. That was Deuteronomy 28. Now, the connection is this. When I said, who are we? This is, who are we? All right. We got the Willie Lynch letter describing how slaves were treated here in the Americas through the transatlantic slave trade. We got Deuteronomy 28, where there's a prophecy saying this was going to happen to the children of Yasharel if they forsook the commands of the Most High. Right? So we, being the descendants of the children of Yasharel, the children of Yaakov, were taken into slavery because we disobeyed the commandments of the Most High. And all these things that have happened to us is because of our forefathers' disobedience. The Willie Lynch letter and the mindset that we have currently today as African American people, or the so-called Negro people, is because we were stripped of our identity, because when we had our land, our laws, our precepts, our statutes, our commands, we refused to be in obedience to the Most High about them. So, who are we really? These curses are upon us to identify us as a people. These curses are upon us to identify the people of Yasharel, the people of Yah, the children of Israel. Because the children of Israel forsook the Most High. What we are not, we're not thugs. We're not emasculated men. We're not whores. We're not concubines. We're not thoughts. We're not savages. We're not beasts. We are of the seed of Abraham. We are a peculiar people. We were set aside to guard his laws, precepts, statutes, and commands, his Shabbat. We were made in the image and the likeness of the Most High. So with that being said, this video has been going on about an hour and 13 minutes. So I'm gonna bring it to the close. We're gonna be, like I said, this is gonna be about a 3 or 4 part series. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Shabbat shalom and be blessed.